What's going on, everybody? I hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you live. Today, we're going to be reacting to Ben Shapiro, and it is leftist woman asked Shapiro if he's transphobic. Let's just get right into the video.
Come out against the rioters in Charlottesville and all their violence and bigotry.
Yep.
The leaders of the Charlottesville rally were empowered by the rhetoric and agenda of Donald Trump and a lot of his associates as they've come out in the Vice documentary and claimed, you've not only said controversial things, but you've had a couple of attacks against the trans community, transphobic attacks, even your call for the transfer of Palestinians, which I don't know if you've redacted that.
Yeah, I redacted that like 9 years ago.
I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure. I wanted to ask you. No, I'm just learning about Ben.
No, really, that's fine.
Here.
That's fine.
But even with that, do you feel that a
Okay.
lot of your speech could incite the same kind of violence?
I mean, you
that
heard my
Donald
speech
Trump
tonight.
did?
Do you feel that my speech could incite violence?
Well,
Julia?
I mean that seriously. That's an honest
no,
question.
I know you're asking honestly. I feel that for me, as an individual, it isn't, but I could see how a lot of your points I really disagreed with. I literally have a list of
And that's
questions
fine. I
have
mean,
for
that's the good
you.
part,
That's
right?
good.
Where we disagree and we can have a conversation.
I just was wondering in terms of, and what I mean by inciting violence is encouraging the same people who believe in like your transphobic beliefs, even that like homophobia is a sin based on your religious beliefs. Do you believe that because of what you say you
Okay.
can encourage a lot of people to act on those beliefs?
So I have a very strong standard with regard to incitement, and I'm very consistent about this. If I'm not telling somebody to commit violence, I'm not inciting them to violence. I've held the standard for Barack Obama when he was saying anti-police things, and then somebody went and shot up some police officers in Dallas.
Yeah.
I said that's not Barack Obama's fault. When a Bernie Sanders supporter went and shot up a congressional baseball game, I said that's not Bernie Sanders' fault because Bernie Sanders wasn't calling for that.
Facts.
Political debate requires that you talk to people, and people take your words as what they mean, not as an excuse to go and do violence. I've never called for violence, nor would I. As far as the idea that my word...
All right, really quick on that point before he keeps going, because this was made in 2018. In 2020, when Trump did his whole entire thing, I do not think that he was inciting violence, specifically because of what Ben just said. If he did not explicitly say that, go do this to these people or, be violent to this thing or like break into the Capitol or whatever, he did not do it. So I personally think that he should not be held responsible for that. And he should not have been banned from Twitter because of that. But let's keep going.
Words are some sort of attack, a violent attack, for example, on folks who are transgender. My view,
not saying no
I know, but
violent
I'm responding to the people who are not you who might say that. Okay?
Okay.
So the idea that I am transphobic, for example, this is a bizarre kind of attack in the sense that I don't know that I've ever exhibited phobia of trans people. I'm not afraid of trans people.
Exactly.
Well, transphobia is more along the
But-
lines of prejudice against the trans
So I think
community in
that
terms of calling
I
them
actually
mentally ill.
think that your first characterization was right. I think that transphobia is really disagreement with the basic principle that the trans community is trying to purvey, which is that people's sex is malleable, that people can move from male to female, and that it is my job, objectively, to now call them the name they wish to be called, and to teach my children that men can be women and women can be men. I fundamentally disagree with that point. Now,
Yes.
with that said, is everybody in the United States entitled to the same rights? Of course, but your right does not extend to forcing me to call you what you want me to call you. That's not the way this works. That violates my freedom of speech. So in interpersonal relationships, if I were out to dinner with a trans person, would I make a point of noting their proper biological sex? No, because that would be impolite.
Exactly.
When I'm talking about the general principle of is a man a woman or is a woman a man, the answer is I will say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman and a he is a he and a she is a she. And if I'm in a public debate with somebody, I will say the same thing.
Exactly.
As far...
So
On a micro scale, you can be, respectful to them, except like on a macro, when you're trying to address the actual issue at hand, you cannot be respectful. You cannot worry about feelings at that point. But like I said, on a micro level, you could be respectful if you wanted to, if you wish to, or not. That just, it just depends on you.
I do want to clarify that when I meant I wasn't trying to say disagreement, I was relating it to the same definition of homophobia, which is prejudice, or I tried to say discrimination.
Right. So I think that
against-
again, homophobia. There are some
it
people who
relates to
actively
through the
actively want to do
LGBT
violence to people who are gay. Right. I mean, those people are not me or anybody that I agree with. Obviously, I've never at any point in my entire career ever advocated violence, God forbid, against anybody in a civilized society. That's not
Exactly.
something that I believe in, and I think it's evil. As far as I think again. your original definition of transphobia actually is better applied here as well. I think it's disagreement with certain principles that the homosexual community wishes to espouse.
What I was saying was that's not what I was. I was instead
I know,
of saying
and I'm saying that I agree
really
with your
means.
original definition and not your definition. So the definition that you made.
No, I'm not saying it's mine. It's one that I Googled that I found.
Right.
So,
and I think that definition is wrong, and I think that the one that you Freudian slipped.
It's the one that you're using, so it is yours. If you're presenting an argument and you're using this definition of an argument, it is your argument, it is your definition. Come on. I like her, though. She's nice. She's respectful.
Was right, is what
so
I'm saying.
I'm saying based on the institution of, I don't want to say the institution of Google because that's an extremely general thing to say, but in terms of as soon as you search transphobia, homophobia, this is what comes up.
Right, and I
Do
think,
you feel like even though you're disagreeing with transphobia, with the trans community, which I believe we all have our own disagreements, I'm asking, do you feel that the fact that with your disagreement, you're inherently, through the institutions that have provided these definitions, discriminating against trans community.
And I'm saying,
thus encouraging other people to follow.
So
I know
here's
it's a long question, but I had to encapsulate a lot of things.
So here's what I'm saying. I disagree with either their definition is wrong or it's overly broad in its application.
Okay.
So if the idea is that if I say a man is a man and a woman is a woman is inherently transphobic, that's not discrimination, that's disagreement.
Yep.
If they say that's discrimination, they're overly applying their own label.
I think when you say they're mentally ill, that gives off.
I have said
it just boils down to a lot of people are professional victims. That's it. That's all. That's what Ben Shapiro is basically trying to say right now. They're over exaggerating what he's doing. They might disagree, but it's not discrimination. Come on.
And I will continue to maintain that gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, whichever DSM you choose to use, is a mental illness. That is.
And that's fair.
And again, God forbid that it should be said with any animus, because this is not said with animus. When people are suffering, these are clearly folks who are suffering. When people are suffering, you shouldn't be saying stuff with animus. I'm not saying that as a gotcha to people who are transgender. The point that I'm making is that when a society begins treating folks who have mental illness as though they are representing an objective reality, they are doing no service to the people who actually suffer from a mental illness. My grandfather suffered from schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. He was institutionalized. If the doctors had said to him, Nate, you're fine. We believe that the radio is actually talking to you. That is not a service to him. That would have been terrible for him. Right? They put him in an institution. They gave him lithium, and it helped. Now, I'm not saying there's even a great solution for folks who have gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, because the solutions that I've seen, including transgender surgery, are not intensely effective from all the studies that I've seen. It's a tragic, tragic situation. But the solution is not to redefine as a society what sex means along anti-biological lines. As far as the homophobia point, it's my own religious belief.
That's how you have people identifying as birds and wolves and some all these animals and stuff like that. That's not good.
About the sinful nature of particular people's behavior should have no impact on how you act in a free country or how you think. It's a free country. Do what the hell you want. Right? There's religious ben, which is what I think is sinful, which is Jews who violate Sabbath, right? Jews who eat shellfish. Right? There's a lot of things that we think are sinful in Judaism. Right? And then there's the stuff where do what you want because it's a free country. I think people do a lot of sinful stuff all the time, and I'm not calling them on it. Right? I think the people who are living together outside of marriage are sinning according to my traditional religious beliefs. It's a free country. Do what you want. So when people say homophobia, I think what they are doing is saying you disagree with me. I've never called for violence, and not only that, I'm in favor of legalization of same-sex marriage in the sense I want the government completely out of marriage, right? I don't want the government in the marriage business at all.
That's fair.
So it's very... So I think that what bothers me is when folks assume that a disagreement means that they can ascribe animus, anger, hatred, wish for violence to me.
Which is what a lot of the Charlottesville rioters were doing.
Well, the Charlottesville rioters were garbage people. I mean, I did 2 full episodes on how garbage the Charlottesville rioters were.
This has been really great, actually, to have this dialogue. But I think
I was the #1 target of the alt-right in 2016, according to the Anti-Defamation League.
I looked you up. I know. But what I I'm sorry, I don't mean to be sassy, but what I really wanted to understand was because you have such a large platform, I mean, even through Twitter, through social media, through your website, through your just all your work, do you not claim? I don't know of any particular cases where someone has said Ben Shapiro told me to literally go murder a trans person or someone who.
And if they did, they would be lying.
Yeah.
He would never say that. Come on now. That's ridiculous. That's like political suicide right there. That wouldn't even make any sense. But all in all, I think to call him just transphobic is just a bit simple-minded on their part, because he has actual critiques of the transgender movement. And if they actually had good arguments to combat that, then that would be better than just calling him transphobic. Why are you just calling him transphobic? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. I just wanted to like ask you about.
Right. And if they
the
did, they would be
encouraging of the
lying. And I would
similar
think that, and again, anybody who commits acts of violence or evil in my name is a violent, evil person.
Yes.
And I hold that standard for everyone. But I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank
It really
you.
means a lot to me. Thank you.
So that was a wonderful video by Ben Shapiro. But it just bothers me that they just lump people together with all of these weird names: transphobic, racist, all of this stuff, all of this stuff, Islamophobic, all these phobics. They might not even hate these certain groups, they just have criticisms of them. But that's weird. With that being said though, my name is Jay Dottie. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Peace.